Hello, freak bitches. Boom. They got the thing.
That's his vault.
Bam. And they opened it. Yeah. Look, he took a chance with dramatic flair.
Big chance.
And it didn't really pay off. But if it did...
Well, now he has to kill time and shit.
Like, I mean, yeah.
Man.
He's got nothing in there.
God.
But he's also the guy that had Dick Gregory, actually, on his television show, debuted the Zapruder film, which is the shot of Kennedy's head getting blown off and going back into the left.
Classic. And
in what looks like a shot from the front. Looks like a frontal shot. It looks like he was actually shot by more than one person. If you look at, there's various interpretations of the Zapruder film, but one interpretation that seems to make a lot of sense is that he was hit from both the front and the back.
Two shots.
There was multiple people shooting at him, and if you talk to anyone who was trying to, if you were looked at that pinch point, like as they make that corner in Dealey Plaza, like they were like, well, you wouldn't just have one guy with a rifle. You would make sure you were shooting at him from a bunch of different locations.
And Geraldo dropped that news?
Geraldo showed the video.
Geraldo's a beast.
But hold on a second.
Remember.
Here's what's important. That video was many years after Kennedy's assassination.
Like 10 years or
yeah,
something.
like a decade. So for a decade, we had all thought that Lee Harvey Oswald had acted alone, and there was only a few people that didn't think he did, but there was no visual evidence that showed differently.
Hey, Lee, for sure tell us, huh?
The weird thing about that Zapruder film is it always baffled me that when you see him get hit, it looks like for a couple frames, it looks like his head, half his head disappears, and there's just a purple blob. It's a purple blob. But then when you look at the autopsy pictures, it's just the hole in his head, and he's just laying there. But
Yeah.
it looks like
It blew
the
it off.
film was tampered with. That's what it looks like.
Well, it doesn't look like the film was tampered with, but the autopsy photographs were most likely tampered with. And this was a big part of the contention that David Lifton had when he wrote the book Best Evidence. Because there's two different...
Let's watch it. You'll see that it's a purple blob for 2 frames. And
yeah, well,
it doesn't make any sense.
It's spray.
But you
when
also
the bullet's
don't want
hitting
that.
his head's when you hit something with a bullet, there's a spray.
Yeah.
It looks like his whole face just flies off, and there's just
Well, they say that his piece of his head flew off, and she crawled on the back to try to put his head back together.
No, she didn't.
Which is a human being.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't.
Well, that's
she
what
definitely, no, they did not say that. That's not what happened. She was trying to get the fuck out of that limousine because people were shooting, and they blew her husband's head off. She wasn't going for any piece of meat.
I heard that she was reaching to
That's
put
what
his
people
head
say.
like
People
that.
do
That
say that.
instinct,
People
you
say
know?
crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
Does not. She was getting the fuck
Probably
off
getting
that
down.
limo.
Did she ever talk about it? She never talked about it, I guess.
No, she never talked
Yeah,
about
so
it.
no
She
one really
married-
knows for the
She married
certain.
Jackie Onassis right afterwards. She married like one of the richest people she could find.
But don't you think with that autopsy, it's your president that just got assassinated, so you're going to want to make him look the best possible.
Well, let me explain.
Well, look at the video, the Zapruder film.
But
It's
let
on
me
YouTube.
explain, because this is something
I'd like to see it.
I've read
His head
15
being blown
different books
off.
on this shit, and I've watched 10 or 15
you're balls deep in
documentaries.
this.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
one of the
drop
big
it,
things is
son.
there's a giant difference between the account, the autopsy, what they said, their description of the body and the wounds in Dallas versus their description in the wounds in Bethesda, Maryland. Two very different autopsies. One of them that shows an entrance wound on the neck shows he got shot from the front, and an exit wound or an entrance wound on his neck. On another one, that was changed to a tracheotomy scar. So there's a discrepancy. He grabs his neck like he got hit. He holds his neck maybe a second or two before his brains blow out, right? And when he's holding his neck like this, on one autopsy, on one account of the body, that's an entrance wound from a bullet. That's the Dallas one. But on another one, see, if you see him when he's going around the corner,
Look at this.
he's already holding his neck.
Yeah.
See
at
how he's
his head-
holding his neck? Like he reached up and grabbed himself, and he's looking down, and right around he passes the pole, and his head blows off. Watch this, right here, boom.
I don't see anything.
Hang on a second.
Boom.
No.
Damn, bitch, get out the way.
This is in super slow.
So he got shot in the neck.
There it is.
Oh!
See how his head disappears right there? Like, what is that? It's like a flap of...
It's just a flap of bone and meat. It
Oh,
opened his
is
head
the
right up.
Christ.
So watch. Look, she ain't going searching for a piece of head.
Hell
She's trying to
no.
get the fuck off of that
Well, we don't know what she's
limousine.
doing, right?
You
She's-
do.
No,
There's a
his
Secret
head's not
Service
even
guy
there.
right behind
Hey,
her.
bro.
That's the Secret Service guy who's climbed up at the back of the car and he's reaching for her to help her.
You think
Yeah.
she... Oh, my God.
What a horrible
So
thing to
scary.
live through.
So, but the problem was nobody had seen that until 10 years after the assassination. So when they watch it, they go, "Oh my God, his head goes back into the left." That was like that Hicks joke that he kept talking about, back and to the left, back and to the left. I mean, he got shot. It looked like he was getting shot from the front, and it hit the right side of his head, and his head goes back and to the left. But there's also some spray that appears to be either going forward. It could be an impact spray of the bullet from the front, or it could be that he got shot with 2 different bullets at the same time. It's very possible that he got hit from the front and the back.
It's basically very hard to tell what happened with one angle, right?
Well, you know for sure he got shot in the head.
Yeah,
and
you know
for sure his head blew apart.
God damn.
What's crazy to me is
Horrible.
after all these years, we don't know for a fact.
No, they can't. There's no way they can.
It's weird to me that no one came out and talked
watch
about
it again. Watch this again.
People
Now watch. It's hard to tell if this is an impact spray or if it's an exit spray.
Where's his head at?
His head is right there.
It looks like an impact spray
right there.
to me, man.
But
I
it
don't
could
know.
be.
What do I know?
It could be an impact spray from the front. Meanwhile, it very well could be that it's an exit spray too. But the thing is, his head goes back and to the left. But here's the question. Does it go back to the left from the momentum of getting hit in the head with a bullet, or is it a spasm from a dying body? Like your body locks up and it just throws itself into a convulsion. That's possible too. I mean, a lot of crazy shit happens when you get shot in the fucking head.
I heard he was a real cocksman too.
I bet he was. But I don't think that had anything to do
So
with
you
this.
don't think
I'm just saying it's a
Lee
bummer
Harvey
he died.
Oswald acted alone?
I do not think Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. I do not. I do not think that it's even reasonable to assume that he acted alone. There's way too many people that had vested interest in killing him.
Like the Cubans.
Yeah, there was a lot of people. There was a lot of people that wanted him dead. And it depends on what varying version of the story you're willing to buy into. But what is possible, and this is one thing that people don't want to consider, they think either Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone or it's some wacky tinfoil hat conspiracy. I say neither. I say it might be both. I say Lee Harvey Oswald could have been in on it. He seemed like a gullible guy in a lot of ways.
He'd been to Cuba, right?
He'd been to Russia.
He'd been
to Cuba. He lived in Russia. He was married to a Russian woman.
Right.
Lee Harvey Oswald was most certainly at least in cahoots with the FBI. He was
in the CIA.
Yes. He definitely did some things for other organizations and brought over during the Cold War a Russian wife. Lived over in Russia and then got back in the United States and brought over his Russian wife.
But he did also go to Cuba, right? Didn't he spend time in Cuba? I believe he did.
I believe he did. Yeah. I don't remember that, but I know for a fact he lived in Russia for a while.
He didn't go to
Was he a communist?
He didn't go to Cuba. He was part of a Cuban movement, like Liberty for Cuba.
I think he went to Cuba. I think he spent time in Cuba.
He might have.
Yeah. Check that out.
No, he didn't go to Cuba.
Okay, well, Jamie will find it. But the bottom line is, he easily could have been working for the government, and he easily could have been a part of the plan, and he easily could have been a guy that they felt maybe was they set him up.
Is he still alive?
No, he got shot by Jack Ruby like a couple days after he shot Kennedy, or allegedly shot
Jack
Kennedy.
Ruby shot him.
Jack
Ruby died of cancer in jail.
Not only that, Jack Ruby was a mob guy that was deeply beholden to all these different groups, and
which is very weird, right? Why would Jack Ruby, a mob guy, kill Lee Harvey Oswald in broad daylight while he's being escorted? Like, what would they were like? Well, he felt so bad for Jackie. That doesn't make any sense.
When you look into it, the JFK story is vast. It would take you fucking 25 hours to get the gist of the story.
People have written books on it. I mean,
it's so deep. Everybody wanted JFK dead. The CIA wanted him dead.
Embassies in Cuba
and the Soviet Union to
the
plot
mob
his escape.
wanted him dead.
So he was in Cuba.
Big Oil wanted him dead. Everybody wanted him dead. So he was trying to change the world.
He visited embassies in Cuba and the Soviet Union to plot his escape before assassinating John F. Kennedy. I think he was in on it. That's what I think.
For sure he was in on it.
Lee Harvey Oswald didn't act alone, but I do believe he was in on it. And I bet he didn't pull the trigger. I bet a bunch of other people pulled the trigger, and I bet he was the guy they set up.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, because...
have you ever been up there? Like Dallas?
You know who E. Howard Hunt is?
Yes.
E. Howard Hunt was in the CIA. He was part of Watergate. He's very big in the CIA. On his deathbed, he says that there was all the assassins from Operation 40. Operation 40 was a unit that they put together to assassinate Fidel Castro. All these international killers. It's just like the movies.
Murder Incorporated. Yeah.
Operation 40. Exactly. All these snipers and killers, Castro, Cubans. You know, there were exiled. They all got together. They tried to kill Fidel Castro. Bay of Pigs failed. Because JFK, part of the reason was because JFK didn't, he didn't want any air support. He didn't want to be any part. He didn't want any part of Bay of Pigs. So the CIA felt like they got abandoned by JFK. JFK fires the head of the CIA. So right there's a big rift between the CIA and JFK. The mob hated JFK too because they were supposed to protect the mob, Robert Kennedy and JFK, but because their dad was a mobster. So they thought they were going to be protected. So the mob spent all this money to get JFK in, and then he's turning on him. And Robert Kennedy, his brother, he's the attorney general. He's going after the mob. So they're like, okay, we got to stop these motherfuckers. So when you really look into it, a lot of people wanted him dead. Big Oil wanted him dead. They killed him in Texas. Lyndon B. Johnson, the vice president, was about to be indicted for 2 murders. He had, you know how he stopped that? JFK got assassinated. He becomes president. He pardons himself.
God,
Lyndon
we
B.
just
Johnson,
went down a deep hole.
1963 was a crazy time.
A lot of people
the world was a
benefit.
different place.
I was not alive.
E. Howard Hunt on his deathbed said, Operation 4, the assassins for Operation 40 were all there. They were all there to watch the big event. They all collaborated. He says this on his deathbed.
But here's even
he
better
was
than
there
that,
as a bum.
Eddie.
He was one of the bums.
Yeah,
we were
that's
all
what I'm
watching
saying.
it.
There's a photograph of him.
Yeah.
There's a photograph of him from the arrest. They arrested a bunch of hobos, they said, getting off a plane.
They were all killers.
They were all assassins. And they've identified some of the guys who were on that train. One of them was fucking the actor. The fuck's his name?
Woody Harrelson's
Woody
dad.
Harrelson. Woody Harrelson's dad was
Woody
an
Harrelson's
assassin.
dad was an assassin.
Like legitimately an assassin.
Isn't that crazy? And so E. Howard Hunt on his deathbed, you could watch this at the library on YouTube.
Gotta be at the
E. Howard
library.
Hunt
Gotta
on
be
his
at the library.
deathbed, he said he was bench warming. There was a lot just in case something went wrong. There was a bunch of people there. He was getting shot. He was getting lit up from all
Yeah, but
sorts
is it
of
possible
angles.
that the hobos were undercover cops?
No,
Well,
the hobo.
For like
no,
for
one,
undercover
one of the
protection?
hobos, at least one of the hobos has been identified as a known
E.
assassin.
Howard Hunt.
Not just E. Howard Hunt, but there's other guys that have, like, people have broken down the photos of the hobos, and they said that this guy is that guy, this guy's an assassin. Like, what it seems like they had done was they had planned to kill Kennedy, and they planned to do it in Dallas for some reason, and they brought in a bunch of different people to do it. Now, here's where it gets really squirrely. When you find out how many people who were witnesses, who testified that they were there at the shooting, wound up dying in really fucked up ways. They wound up dying by murder. They wound up dying in weird car accidents where their fucking brake lines were cut. There was a ton of them, so many of them that I think it might have been Lifton as well, David Lifton, the same guy who wrote Best Evidence. They had some calculation on what the odds are of all these people meeting violent demises inside of 2 years, and it was crazy. See if you could find that, young Jamie.
Is that the plot from Final Destination?
No, how many people? See if the amount of people who witnessed the Kennedy assassination who wound up dying under mysterious circumstances.
That's some crazy shit, man.
Dude, it's
astronauts, same
millions
thing.
to one. It's like millions to one. Like, if you look at how many people died and what are the odds of them all like getting murdered or killed in suicide, weird suicides, like hang themselves on a fucking coat rack, like weird shit.
Yeah, the JFK story is deep as fuck.
They killed that guy.
Everybody collaborated. They all agreed we need to get rid of this guy.
See, I'm surprised more guys, as they get older and on their deathbed, don't tell the truth.
Nobody cares.
E. Howard Hunt.
But here's the thing.
By then they're too
There's
fucking
also
old
plenty
and
of
squirrely.
fake stories. All they have to do, here we go here. Look at this.
100,000 trillion to one.
Some have claimed that a large number of witnesses in the event have died in mysterious circumstances. Sunday Times reported that the odds against these witnesses being dead by February 1967 were 100,000 trillion to one. Whoa. Admitted he had made a careless journalistic mistake in his book Crossfire. Author Jim Mars provides a list of 103 people he claims died in mysterious circumstances between 63 and 76. In reality, most of these people died of natural causes. Some of these people did die in accidents. Others were murdered or committed suicide. However, these people rarely had information that would have been important in helping invent. That sounds like an editorialization. I want to know who's right.
But I mean, think about it. If you're going to pull off an assassination and then you're all going to go as a group, let's kill everybody around there.
Doesn't matter.
That's hard to do.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I don't have faith
But you're not
in
looking
that.
at that right. What I'm saying is what that guy wrote is an editorialization. Like, that might be correct, but it might be wrong, too. He's making an assumption, and he's writing this guess based on that assumption.
Well, I mean, I don't know how you'd... Like, okay, so you got all those witnesses. That's really hard. Now you got to organize all those murders. Good luck.
All these different people that were witnesses. Look at this. Make that a little larger, Jamie, so I can read this shit. Look at this.
They all died pretty spaced out. They had a lot of time to talk.
These are all Kennedys.
Oh, these are all Kennedys that were whacked? Yeah, well, everybody hates the Kennedys, man. They were
killing the game.
They started out as drug runners. They were running moonshine. That's how they started. That's where they made their money.
Joe Kennedy.
This is deep.
And then JFK and the rest of his sons, they started trying to change the world for real. And they're like, that ain't happening. Everybody wanted JFK dead. They joked around about how they knew what they were trying to do was, put their lives in jeopardy.
You know what's really interesting?
Even his son. Look at his son, the way his son died on that plane. You look into that. Holy shit.
No, that guy was coked up, man. He's coked up and he didn't know what he was doing. He was driving into the fog. You have to be really good.
You got to look into it.
I did.
Did you really?
Yeah.
What do you think, Eddie?
He died with cocaine in his system, and he didn't know how to drive in the fog.
A lot of shady shit.
Dude, people crash.
Did they find his body?
Yes, they found the plane. They found his body. When people crash, over 100 murders, suicides, and mysterious deaths. The strange fate of those who saw Kennedy shot.
For sure, live. You saw it.
See, I'd have to read all these.
That's pretty organized.
He's killed by a karate chop.
Oswald was coming out saying, "I'm a patsy. I'm being set up. Pop, pop, pop."
Yeah, and then Jack Ruby shoots him on TV.
And this is Jim Koff was killed by a karate chop to the throat as he emerged from the shower.
The Jack Ruby killing, that's what raises my, where I go, why would Jack Ruby kill?
There's so much.
Why would he
JFK.
assassinate him and then just keep his mouth shut and go to jail? What the fuck is that about? That's the part that I think is really weird.
I know you're a super expert on JFK. You know more than I do, but I spent a lot of time on JFK as well. I just let you talk, but I know a lot about that. And there's so much.
There's people that know way more than me.
There's so
I've only
much.
read a few people's books.
The guy that blows me away the most about JFK, who knows, he studies all the players, all the mob guys involved, is a guy named Ry Dawson. He's a fucking JFK encyclopedia, dude. He knows. It's so deep. It's like Game of Thrones times 10.
Yeah, it's hard to tell who's right.
It isn't just JFK, Lee Harvey Oswald, and maybe a couple other assassins. It's so goddamn deep. You could spend a lifetime just studying and all the names and how they're all connected. It's crazy. It's super vast.